Today, experience and perception is not something that you can measure. You cannot take a ruler and measure. It's a construct, it's a fluid concept that flows in real time conversations or across so many channels.
CRO used to be about button colors, headlines. Do you think with AI shaping the CRO as an industry, would it really change to something else overall, or is it going to be mostly about button colors and maybe navigation only?
That I knew it was a lie because I do work with AI and I do work with models, and they were saying that they're measuring this and that based on scroll and device. And I'm like, how are you going to infer somebody's emotions and sentiment based on the device and how much they scroll? So if I scroll 2 times, it means I'm worried about your pricing and competitors, and I don't know, I have astrology in Cancer. It's like people are really crazy, and it's just like, why are you coming up with this stuff?
Hi, Julia. Welcome to the 10x Marketer podcast. Very good morning, and thank you so much for being here. Before we start recording and before I ask you to introduce yourself, I think you have been one of the guests that I chased the most among everyone else. And finally, I'm able to get you on my podcast. So thank you. Thank you once again. And now it's your turn to introduce yourself, and then we'll start with the questions that I prepared for you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry that you had to chase me. It wasn't intentional. It's just, again, like life is crazy. I move countries. The job is the job. So I'm sorry that you had to chase me, but I'm glad that I was able to recommend at least some of the guests you had that are
Yes,
really,
thank you for that.
yeah, really good friends of mine. And yeah, I'm Juliana Jackson. And I like to introduce myself that very simple. I do stuff on the internet for the last 15 years. So that's my intro. I know you were probably expecting something like very deep, but no, that's it.
Okay, no problem. So we'll start with the first question. Let's start with, why do you say CRO is no longer just about interfaces? Because that's the question that we wanted to start with. Let's start
Yeah.
with that. And if it
Well,
is early morning and such a big, bold question to take,
no, like
let's.
I like it because you're starting strong. So, I mean, listen, I always said that I am not like classically trained conversion optimization type of specialist. Like I ended up doing CRO as part of bigger projects always. The thing that is happening is that if you think about conversion optimization, this practice was birthed probably in 2010, 2012. And back then, internet and websites were very different than they were today. However, we have been using the same practices and playbooks since 2012, 2010 to optimize websites in 2025. And if you look at the difference in the last I don't know 15 to 20 years of how the internet evolved and how digital experiences evolved, it's kind of crazy to think that the experience and conversions just happen in an interface, are just grounded by your website or your app. And I think because I guess the CRO mentality is that once you get on the website, that's the first touch point that the user has with your brand. You're kind of imagining that that whole brand experience and perception is built right there between your navigation and your checkout. So when you're optimizing for conversion, or you're optimizing for experience, or you're optimizing for signups and lead gen and whatever you're calling a conversion, you have to think a bit more holistically, that some most of the times, because the way people get education today out of different sources, you're not going to be the first touch point with the user. So the best example I can give you is, let's say I am a small business and I'm looking for a CRM solution for my small business. So if I go and search right now small business CRM solution, I'm gonna get on the first page of searches all the, I guess, sponsor ads that say buy, this, buy Salesforce, buy whatever. Then you get the blog posts from the link building buddies that say top 20 CRM tools that you need to use, and number 7 will surprise you. And then you will have the actual tools. So I'm not gonna click on none of this stuff. I'm gonna go on Reddit. I'm gonna go on Quora. I'm gonna go and read people's, experiences with different tools, and only after I'm gonna go on the website. So that perception and awareness doesn't happen anymore linearly on the website, because people today have enough means to educate themselves about a topic and educate themselves about a service or a product. So when they go on the website, they expect to continue that experience that already happened on these channels and not start over with the brand. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. And I don't think by looking at this answer, anybody would assume that you just woken up 30 minutes ago and you're still having your coffee. So thank you so much. But one follow up question on this is that since you are already accepting that the interface has also evolved
Yeah.
in last 15 years, so don't you think if people are still betting on interface optimization overall, that's part of the user experience? But that's not a holistic story. I agree on that part. But still, one of the important CRO metrics for them to like capture the interface, optimize the interface in a way that the user experience is even improved with that. So doesn't
It's
that make it still valid?
it still matters, of course, but that's just 5% of the journey.
Yes. Okay. So that's my
That's
next
it.
question. That's my next question. I uh, took this out of one of your blog, and you written exceptionally on that, like last 5% optimization trap. I think this is what we are talking about when we talk
Yeah.
about enterprise. Let's get into detail of this, what really it means, and why do you think this is a problem? I think part of it you already answered, but maybe let's try and define the problem. Why is it really uh, killing the conversion, or maybe killing the opportunity of conversion, or maybe creating an illusion of conversion optimization when really it could have been much better?
CRO people are very much, not all of them, of course, not everybody is in this. But in general, when you think about CRO, you're thinking about conversion rate optimization. That's a simple singular metric that doesn't tell you the whole story of what happened. I do understand if you're a small company and you're just starting out, you're trying everything on your website, you're trying to get those sales, you're trying to get those leads, and so on. But in most organizations, customer experience is still defined about on what happened on the website and on the app. That's it. And there's nothing wrong to look at the interface, but think about it like that's 50% of the journey. So where is the 95% of the journey? So the best way I can explain this is today, experience and perception is not something that you can measure. You cannot take a ruler and measure. It's a construct, it's a fluid concept that flows in real-time conversations or across so many channels. Think about all the social media, think about communities and forums. Like people, I guess, discover products differently, think about products differently. And the best argument I have for this, I saw Rand Fishkin shared some data that at the moment the searches on Google are 68.80% generic broad terms. What does that mean? If like people on Google search almost 70% generic stuff, it means that the biggest type of intent people have when they search online is information. People
Yep.
need information. So what does this mean? It means that just a very small percent of people are ready to buy. So he said that 68.66% people have on that search on Google have informational intent, 18% commercial, 11% navigational, and only 1.13% is transactional. So keep that in mind. So if you think about that and think about that people seek information and validation and answers to their question, and you go on the website, and that when you land on that website, you're just hit with pop-up, click here, big banner, sales, 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 click whatever. It's like you're not feeding me enough information. Like people don't think anymore about offering kind of like the same cohesive experience. It's like you're coming from searches, you're coming from Reddit, you end up on the website and you have to start over again because people on the website treat you like this is just the first time you're seeing their brand. So that's where it happens. And we're constantly optimizing for this 5% of the journey, but we're ignoring what's happening in search, what's happening in ads, what's happening in social, and so on. So on the flip side, what I notice is I've been, for the last 1 year and a half, a big source of my hypothesis for A/B tests and experiments is actually search data. I plug the Search Console data into Google Cloud Platform, and I use AI to analyze intent and search patterns And then I come up with hypotheses about how I can improve the searchability and discoverability. I don't look anymore just at what happens on the website. Like, come on, like how many throughs and heat maps and all it's like we're constantly doing the same thing. And at least if we were to test like something really crazy or something really exciting, but what we do is just, oh, this button would look better here. Oh, let's change the headline. Like, what does that do? So I'm a bit pissed off and passionate about this, but what I will say, if it's one thing that you should take from this conversation or this answer, is that experiences today are shaped by algorithmic surfacing of the content and the narrative that people build across decentralized platforms. So nothing happens on the website anymore. Everything is just basically everywhere. And today's customer stories and customers' perception is the story that you did not build as a brand and you do not own. You're chasing it, basically. Yes.
See, if 65%, 65 is the number you quoted, right?
68.
68% people are searching for information or they are
Yeah.
organic query. One of the bigger challenge for most brand who are dependent on organic traffic, or organic traffic is an important number for them, is that they are a good candidate for AI searches, right? If they're
Mhm.
only thing they are looking for information, then why do they have to go on the website? That's a clear indicator that maybe in next 1 or 2 years, significant of your organic traffic will no more be coming on your website. It might be going to chat gpt, because when people become more familiar with these AI tools and its ability to answer your question, they'll not do organic queries on Google anymore.
Yeah,
This trend is shaping up, but it'll take maybe bigger shape in future. That's one part where brands have to think holistically, that if somebody is searching organically and if he's not at all landing on my website, is there a way for me to capture that person, or maybe
exactly.
register my brand in that person's mind in a way that he's able to come back when he's ready for transaction?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I have an example for that. I worked with a brand on, we basically did search intent analysis for them to improve the content of their website. So I actually, let me find this because I'm a data person. I'm gonna give you with numbers. Okay, so we looked at the discrepancy between user intent and
Mm-hmm.
page intent. So user intent is the intent that somebody has behind the search query. So it's not what they type, it's what they mean by that. So it's the semantic of
Yep.
the query. Page intent is basically what is the purpose of that page. So for instance, a landing page does want you to leave your phone number, your email, to lead generation or to purchase. A product category page wants to inform you about all the products and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I always call this the basically the measuring search intent and page intent, like the relationship between them. I call it similarity, like what to what extent you're meeting the intent of users based on the content you serve.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this company that had 30 million CTR, right? On informational intent. So this is was impressions. Sorry, they had 30 million impressions and 4% CTR on Google. When you search on Google, you write
Mm-hmm.
something, and that was the impressions. But when they got on the website, they went from 30 million to 10 million. And why? Because the website was not optimized for information. They were optimized for transaction and navigation. So all that traffic out the window, just thrown
Responsible.
out. Exactly. So informational intent is the most searched, but it has the lowest CTR on the website. So the problem is this happens because there's a discrepancy. Think about it, like you're searching for something, you see that meta title, the description, it sounds good. You click on it, and then you get on the website and you're told a whole different story. And then you get all the CRO tactics hitting you, hitting you, hitting you, but you're not ready to convert.
Yep.
You're just there seeking stuff. You're still in search mode. So websites need to think about that and need to think about where have you come from and align their experience based on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's like it's not an easy answer for this, but I think it has to do with where I guess, you get your information from and what type of data you're using. And the playbooks that you use, like we have to be honest, we're living in a very different time right now.
Understood. So, see, the next part of my question was about button colors. One of the favorite topic that Siva often refers. I test button
I
colors.
should have worn his t-shirt with the button colors.
Yeah, I think I should do one joint episode between you and Siva. Then I don't have to speak anything. I'll just see
You
you guys.
probably won't.
Yeah, I don't have to. I'll just keep looking
Just
at
look
you
at us.
guys fighting with each other, and that
We
would
will
be a
fight.
really good experience. Now, let's say CRO used to be about button colors, headlines. I mean, part of it is still there.
Yeah.
Do you think with AI shaping the CRO as an industry, would it really change to something else overall, or is it going to be mostly about button colors and maybe navigation only?
When I think about CRO, there's three parts of CRO. So CRO is broken down in three parts. First, you have the very elitist, complex, very experienced, super stats pros and rigorous shit and so on. Like you have that category of people which are extremely smart. They only think in probabilistic and linear regression and so on. Then you have another group which is basically people that are just trying to test for the first time. They're just testing for copy, they're testing for, I don't know, checkouts and so on. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you don't care as much about the rigor and oh my God, if you don't have 200,000 traffic, you cannot test. Like I don't like that part. Like I don't like
Mhm.
the gated type of thing. And then you got the middle ground people, which are people that have the experience and understanding of the rigorous part and stats and so on, but also live in the real world and know that when you want to run A/B tests or when you want to build a CRO program, there's a lot of struggle that you need to go to and stakeholder agreement and work inside a box and so on. When it comes to AI, I wrote about this recently. I think um, if you use AI for good, and if you use AI for research and you use AI to summarize different things, because in CRO, what we do a lot is research. Research is very important. So if you use AI like that to do research, to come up with ideas, to help you, like to be like a co-pilot for you, I think that's fine. Um, Also to look at different data sources like social, like search, like PPC, and get all those data points together to tell a whole story. What is not good A good use of AI, in my opinion, is to try to use it to think for you because it becomes very dangerous. The more you use AI to replace your, I guess, involvement in the project, the more dangerous it will be for yourself and for your clients because the quality of your work is not gonna be great.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of snake oil stuff going on, and I wrote about this very. If you're curious, just go and search my newsletter. You'll find it on my LinkedIn. It's a lot of snake oil, and a lot of people are trying to build AI products in the space to solve for different things that don't need necessarily solving for. So I would be very, very wary with who I work with and what I'm accepting as truth. I will say also, don't forget that AI has been here since the 1940s, and one could argue that multi-armed bandit is AI because it's using machine learning, and machine learning is part of AI. It's like a lot of people have this misunderstanding and lack of education, I guess, when it comes to AI, that basically AI has been around for ages and machine learning is part of AI and deep learning and generative AI is just a very, very small part of it. Like, yes, it's very sexy and mainstream nowadays, but it's not as powerful as machine learning or deep learning is. So we have to educate ourselves. Like my advice to CROs and digital marketers and everybody in general is to educate themselves very well to understand that you probably have used AI before.
Yep.
Think about Bayesian. Think
Yeah. Or
about,
maybe you have been a product for AI in a
yeah,
sense.
it's just don't think that AI is generative AI and LLMs.
Yeah.
also very sad that most people think about language models when you have so many other amazing, I guess, fields like, I don't know, like robotics and other stuff that uses generative AI. And it's not just a language model that you talk to on your lunch break and ask, to
Yeah,
sound, to
so
write to.
it's
Yeah.
basically what is seen is what is talked about. That's simple.
Yeah, it's what's mainstream. I think you should use AI. I think you should learn how to use AI. I think you should understand the foundations of it, but don't use it to replace your thinking because it's going to be very, very dangerous. And be careful with the people that just copy paste AI on everything just to make
Mhm.
money out of it. I
Okay,
actually know I'm not gonna call names, but because I don't want to cancel your podcast. I'm not gonna name names, but I got very angry. I mean, angry. Not angry is I'm not angry, but I got triggered.
frustrated, maybe triggered.
Triggered. I got triggered because I saw an A/B testing company vendor that came up with this AI product that I knew it was a lie because I do work with AI and I do work with models, and they were saying that they're measuring this and that based on scroll and device. And I'm like, how are you going to infer somebody's emotions and sentiment based on the device and how much they scroll? So if I scroll 2 times, it means I'm worried about your pricing and competitors, and I don't know, I have astrology in Cancer. It's like people are really crazy, and it's just like, why are you coming up with this stuff? But in Romania, there used to be a word that the crazy person is not the one that asks, it's the ones that give. So I think that sums it up.
Yep, that does. Now, see, important question is you already talked about part of it. There are a lot of snake oil merchants here. How do a brand choose CRO agency,
It's
at
a good
least
question.
with AI and everything else? What are the parameters they can use where they can be sure that whoever they are hiring is the right person who can actually do the job?
Somebody posted about this on LinkedIn the other day. Her name is Haley Carpenter, I think is her last name, and she works at Chirpy. She used to be at CXO, but now she has her own agency. And she was saying something really cool, like a lot of people say they sell CRO, but they've never done CRO in their lives before, or they don't understand it. It's just a service that they add on top of it because they took a course or because they asked ChatGPT this morning, so now they're an expert. So I think if you want to choose a CRO agency to work with, make sure that it has good reputation, make sure that they have public case studies. Look up that person, see what they published before, see what type of, like work they did. I
Mm-hmm.
think it there's a lot of people that sell CRO and don't do CRO or understand CRO. And again, you have to do your research and don't believe everything you hear. And make sure that you ask for case studies, make sure you have conversations with these people and ask around and so on. It's I will send you the link for Haley's post. You should have Haley in your podcast, by the way. She's great, very smart, very
You have
smart.
to make that introduction then.
I will.
Okay, great. Haley, if you're listening to this, you are the next guest in line. Now, the next part of my question, which is related to what you just shared, case studies and data. If a brand has not done CRO or there are no in-house expertise about CRO, let's say somebody completely layman like me, case studies are also made up using AI.
But if you can reach out to a brand and ask, did you work with these people? I would do that. I used to do that. Like if I see a case study, I look on my LinkedIn, am I connected to somebody from this client? No, but you can ask something like, hey, I noticed this case study link. How was
Mhm.
it? How was your experience? Like we should talk to each other, like it's normal to ask questions. So if you see a case study with the company, you look for that person on LinkedIn and you validate if this is correct or
Or
wrong.
maybe ask for a reference. Maybe say that
Ask for
I
reference.
will
Yeah.
only believe your case study if you give me a reference where I can cross check.
Exactly. It's like hiring somebody. We need to think about when you're hiring people, you do all this due diligence. So you should do the same when you're hiring an agency. You have to do your due diligence. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's talk about your experience at Monk.
Yeah.
You have been talking about bridging the digital experience and behavioral data in CRO.
Yeah.
is there any thin line between tracking and customer privacy? Where do you actually draw that line, or is there any line at all? Because
So
it matters from geographies, from country specific laws. There's no universal guideline.
well, most of my work at Monks has to do with AI and digital experience that is not necessarily on the website. But even when you work with AI, and I can give you a simple example with privacy, you always have to make sure that whatever you use in your models doesn't contain PII. Like you always have to look for PII reduction. You always have to look for data loss prevention and protection. So even it doesn't matter what type of line you are, if you
Mm-hmm.
use if you use customer data, you always have to make sure that you are aware of liability and don't
Mm-hmm.
use data or inform your clients if they use any type of PII to make sure that they don't and talk to legal. I don't want to give any privacy advice or I guess tips or whatever, because you should talk to your lawyer. You should talk to your chief data officer, and that's where you get the best information. But for CRO people, when you run A/B tests, make sure that you discuss with your legal, discuss with the people in charge of this, and whatever you use, make sure you're using as less data as possible. And I want to recommend for people that want to test and are looking for a vendor that's really good and really, I guess, doing, I think, God's work from a privacy perspective is definitely conductrix.com. They are the only CRO tool that actually took a stance for privacy and data protection. So go to conductrix.com. You'll learn a lot of stuff, very smart people, a lot of content, especially on this topic. And yeah, just follow Matt Gershaw. You should also have Matt Gershaw. See, I know a lot of
Yeah.
people that
Yeah, yeah. I think today I'll get at least 5 guests from you.
I will be. I will
That
be.
would be almost my 1 month of content.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
don't
Okay.
touch. I don't want to touch privacy topics, but if it feels wrong, it means it's wrong.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can say it.
Yes, right. So part of it you already talked about in your optimizing the overall digital experience.
Yeah,
Now, the simple question that I have is a lot of people talk about customer research, voice of customer,
yeah,
and they also collect some data somewhere at the behavioral level. But when I actually talk to like the actual scenarios where there are real examples of integrating behavioral data, emotions, and maybe voice of customer and everything else, there are
yeah.
no real case studies. Maybe you have because you're working with more expert people. But in general, if you look at internet, there is no direct correlations. Mostly it's like siloed, and then they try to make a connection which is not real, superficial.
It's very hard when and I speak this from experience, when you mix qualitative data with quantitative data, so you want to mix website data or app data with something you did on a research, it's very hard to stitch things together. Like you have to make a lot of assumptions when that's the reality. It's very hard to take unstructured data from from research, from videos, from images, from wherever you take it, and then connect it to practical user data. It's a trade-off and an assumption that you need to do. The best way I've seen this done is I have two case studies. One is public, is with Starbucks EMEA. I'm happy to share it with you. We analyzed their app reviews on Google and when Play Store and Apple Store. We analyzed the reviews in 4 markets. And then because it was on the app, then we mixed it with the app behavioral data to understand where these things are happening. Because we did notice, like when we did topic classification with our model, we noticed very specific parts of the app that were mentioned in the writing in the reviews. So knowing exactly the features and the issues that happen in the app, then we went to the app and we did analysis of those events, of the journey and so on. So it was easy for us to put two and two together. That one is public, that case study is public. Another one that is not public, but I was mentioning earlier, is when you use search data. Generally, search data, it's also connected to your GA4. So you basically going deeper on the queries and the understanding and the semantic meaning of your queries, but you still have the GA4 data, then it's again it's not as easy as with a review, but you still can create some sort of inference. But can you 100% connect the things together? No, no. So it's a again, a very famous saying of somebody I mentioned earlier, Matt Gershaw, is inference is not technology. Sometimes inference should be here
Yep.
and something that AI cannot replicate yet. Like we still have a job if you can still, analyze things and create. Of course, you cannot imagine stuff because I know in CRO we like to to imagine that we're seeing things. So no, but the truthful answer is that you really cannot map things together just like that.
Okay, so now I would like to know your experience in terms of non-interface CRO, which is like optimizing for user journey or maybe other parts of CRO which are not related to interface or UI, including your product messaging and the architecture. Are there any example where there are companies who have had a significant improvement without changing much on the interface part, just by understanding their customer better, maybe integrating the voice of customer in overall messaging and copy, and that led to a significant improvement?
Oh yeah, I've seen many brands, especially like I cannot name because obviously working here, I'm not allowed to mention, but I can say that a lot of brands that run campaigns, like redesign campaigns or like brand new products that they have on the market, but I'm talking about very, very big brands right now. I'm
Mhm.
not like large brands. What they do is basically, let's say you have a campaign for a new product and you're showing it in TV screens or you're showing it in, I don't know, on Facebook, on Instagram, you can use that social data and basically see how narrative is being shifted from Reddit to Facebook to Instagram to so on, and you basically understand how this campaign is performing and how is your brand being understood by different channels and decentralized communities. And
Mhm.
then basically knowing that information, you know how to convert better when the product is out. So it's kind of like it's a layer of intelligence that you use to do a bit more than traditional campaign tracking and campaign performance. So I've seen that quite a lot. Um, yeah, I think that's the best case I am allowed to talk about. I'm allowed to talk about, but it is true. A lot of people are experimenting with immersive experience, especially in Saudi. I work with quite a few brands in Saudi that are very keen on immersive experience and using AI and using, like new technology to improve experience, but it's not necessarily just on the website. I think again, like there's the website and the app still matter because you still go there. But I think my message to people is how do you keep it consistent from one point to another and not think that experience just happens when you get there. It happens way before that. And again, it's a struggle to do it,
Mhm.
but I'm coming at it from again, like if it's one thing I want you to remember from this conversation today from me is that today's customer arrives at your website or at your app with a story that you didn't create.
Yep.
That's it. Like you're not the author of the story
Yes, they have made up the story based on whatever experience they had or
and where
whatever
they
they
met.
read about you, whatever
Yeah.
they know about you.
Yep.
Now
And
let's end our episode with one simple question, that is, where is CRO heading next? And should companies invest in AI based CRO solutions?
I think CRO is still gonna be very important and it still is important. I think it's definitely expanding and it's an exciting time to be
Mhm.
in CRO. And I think in time, more and more people will use different data sources and come up with better hypotheses and come up with better experiences that are across the journey, not just on the website. I would be very wary of AI solutions when if you're looking to purchase anything that does natural language processing. I actually have a free toolkit that I created, which tells you exactly what questions you should ask the vendor and what are the things you should check for before you purchase. So this is free. I'm gonna share it with Giri here, and Just use my tool to ask the tough questions and don't let yourself be fooled by, AI snake oil.
Okay.
Be very careful.
Thank you. So that's it. You can
Cool.
now go ahead and have your coffee again. Thank you so much for the early morning episode.
Thank
I
you.
really love talking to you, and I would follow up with you for the recommendations of all the guests that you made.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
once again, and thank you guys for listening to us so far. This is Juliana for you, and she shared some important insights when it comes to CRO. She's one of the experts I keep following, and she's one of the guests I kept following up for almost a year,
I hope
even
it was
after.
worth it.
Yes, it was worth it. And thank you so much for finally making it happen. And Siva, if you are listening to the episode so far, it was because of you that she finally been here because she has seen you on my podcast.
Yes, I was jealous.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Bye.